in the shack in the house where the 10 kids lived, where I learned about boiled bananas, where I wrestled motorfowl. That's Betty. And James and I played football at Carson High School. James was the first Samoan first team all-city defensive tackle in Carson history. And LA City, we were LA City champions in 1966. And Big James, I remember him sacking that Gardena quarterback. And we played in the 3 years, and we played in all-star games. He played in the Big Brothers game. We beat the CIF boys in the Lions game. And we had a record of, with scrimmages and wins, 30 wins and 2 losses in 3 years. Carson High. And those are the first 4 years that Carson was open, in the third, fourth, and fifth year, second, third, and fourth year. But James would never brag. He just bragged with his forearms and his shoulder pads. There's a picture that I had over here. I have a lot of pictures of James. We did 100 things together. We were in the Warlords Warlords Club. He was the secretary, I was the treasurer, Frank Gutierrez was the president, Larry Custodio, and it was, we had Foisia and Vaipanua. We had a lot of the Carson people in that club. And our sponsor was Junior Foisia, first Junior.
Walking around.
We couldn't have done it without Junior, because the house behind the World Gas Station was our clubhouse. We thank you. But it was parliamentary procedure. And then James and I, we played, he got a full ride to UCLA out of Carson High School. He had a 1330 SAT score. So you students out there, listen to that. 1330 SAT. Also, James was in my wedding, 1971. When he first turned 21, I was the first one that got him to drink a little bit. He didn't drink a little bit. He threw me up against the wall in the shack on the land behind the house there off of Figueroa. And when I turned 21, he brought me a cold old turkey and made me drink it, and he got even with me. But he was in my wedding, handsome guy. We were in Myron Thompson's wedding, 17 ushers, 17 bridesmaids. And me and James were in the shack working out, listening to What's Going On by Marvin Gaye for hours, because the wedding was delayed. But anyway, we had so much fun. We ran Joy's Billiards. How many remember Joy's Billiards at Carson? Well, me and James ran that place often. And a lot of stories there, but I'm not going to bring those stories up. But he was a peacemaker too. James knew how to talk to people. He knew how to calm you down. But if you afflicted him, it would be your last affliction. That left forearm was unbelievable. And again, he went to UCLA full ride, and Dave Dalby clipped him in a scrimmage, and Dave Dalby was an all-pro for the Raiders. And James left, and they offered him the scholarship 4 years. He didn't want to take it. He came back and played with us at Harvard JC, and we were first in the state, third in the nation with his help in 1969. And then James went on in college, and he came over here in 1971, and we were working the Carson High. We were the noon aides, the goons. They call us the noon goons at Carson High. We protected all you students, like my student Sharon Lauvat. So that was the first student to come back and teach at Carson. And Coach Volnagel had a deal with James one time. And because James didn't make all the conditioning in the summer one time. James was tough, but he didn't like to work out real hard sometimes in those days. And I don't blame him. But he said if he could get a certain Samoan cousin to come, that Coach Volnagel would forgive him for the meetings that he missed. But I only saw James scared one time in my whole life. Him and the lead Saia Misa Jr. from Banning, we were all pretty close. We worked at Joyce. We went to see The Exorcist in Westwood. We waited 2.5 hours in line. And after that, James wouldn't turn off lights in his house. That's the first time I ever seen James or Foisia Misa scared. But there was nobody that was more kind, more intelligent, and all the time I brought my kids over here to see when I left Orange County, South Orange County. I'd come back and bring my kids to meet James, and he was bringing this park up and up and up, and helping the kids he was helping Tomorrow's America, and I just heard a few of them. They're so successful. Well, he was the impact on them. He was a very simple man, but the biggest heart and caring individual. And you're all here because of your love for him. And I love him today, and I loved him then, and we'll love him forever. And thank you, James. Kumba, Chief. We had all kinds of names for him. I won't tell you the other name, but we went surfing in Mexico, and we went to a bar in Mexico one time. I got the picture over here, and it was a locals place. It wasn't a regular crazy place in Ensenada. We found out about a local. We went in there. We couldn't believe this place. They had a Santana band playing. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden there's this giant Mexican about 30 yards away with a giant head almost as big as James. And everything, they stared at each other. And it was like everything stood still. Says, okay, come on, friend. It was another friend of ours, Frank Duran, who passed away. We're sitting there waiting because we think something's going to come out right now. So James is staring at that big Mexican. That big Mexican looks over to James, stands up and looks at James. And that big Mexican goes, he goes. And James went. And all the drinks came to us free. But thank you, James. We love you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for letting me take this microphone. You better take it away from me because I got too many stories to tell about James, and I don't want to tell them that. Thank you very much. Brother James! First team All-City! 1330 on the SAT. Helped thousands of kids here and paid their fees so they could play at this park, which is deservedly now the Foisia Park. So come and get this. Or I'm going to tell stories about Motofau and Daisy at the house. Wilson! Where are you, Wilson? Harry! Come here, Harry. Got to break up those fights again. Here you go. Motofau. Daddy!
All right. Thank you. Beautiful story. Anyone else? Anyone?